Tyler thought picking on the new kid would be easy. He even spit in his face, right there, in front of everyone. But what Tyler didn't know was that Elijah was a black belt, trained to stay calm, even when things got tense. Elijah Garner's first day at Lincoln Ridge Middle School was nothing like he imagined. The morning sun glowed just right across Fresno's cracked sidewalks, and the air still held a bit of last night's chill. His mom dropped him off with a warm smile, her hand gently brushing the back of his neck before he stepped out of the car. He adjusted his backpack, took a deep breath, and walked toward the front entrance, acting like he didn't notice the stairs. New kids always got that look, like they'd landed from another planet. Inside, the building smelled like floor wax, burnt tater tots, and too many teenage bodies. Elijah didn't mind. He just wanted to stay under the radar long enough to figure things out. His homeroom teacher, Mr. Langdon, seemed nice enough. Tall guy, gray at the temples, sleeves rolled to the elbows, the kind of teacher who'd been around forever. He introduced Elijah without much fuss. "This is Elijah Garner from Bakersfield. Let's make him feel welcome." Then it was straight to roll call. Elijah sat in the back row. No one said a word to him. No one passed him a note. And honestly, he preferred it that way. But Lincoln Ridge had its own quiet rules. Elijah learned them fast. There were loud kids, quiet ones, the ones who faded into the background. And then there were kids like Tyler. Tyler Merrick wasn't the type to sit still. He moved through the hallways like they were made just for him. Always talking. Always laughing loud enough for people to hear. Even when the joke wasn't funny, people laughed anyway. Some because they were scared. Some just trying to get by. Elijah saw him for the first time at lunch on Monday. Tyler cut to the front of the line like he owned it, then turned to the girl behind him and made some joke about how new kids smelled. Like bad cafeteria fish. He looked straight at Elijah when he said it. Elijah didn't flinch. He just kept moving forward, eyes on his tray. That night at home, Elijah's mom asked how school went. "It was fine," he said, spooning rice onto his plate. "Did you meet anyone?" He shrugged. "A few." She watched him for a moment longer than he liked, then smiled and let it go. By Wednesday, Elijah had found his rhythm. He figured out which hallways were quietest. He sat at the edge of group tables during lunch, headphones halfway in, just enough to be left alone, but not rude. He kept his voice low when teachers called on him, never gave anyone a reason to look twice, but Tyler kept coming around. On the basketball court, Elijah passed a group of boys. Tyler was there. "Hey, look," Tyler said loudly, so everyone could hear. "It's Mr. Mute." A few guys laughed. Elijah stopped, turned toward him. "You got something to say?" he asked, voice steady. Tyler grinned. "Just wondering if you're broken or scared to talk." Elijah stared for a second, then said, "Neither," and walked off. Tyler didn't like that. He liked being in control. He liked reactions. And Elijah didn't give him one. That made him dangerous. But Tyler wasn't done. Not yet. He just hadn't decided how far he'd take it. By Thursday morning, something had shifted around Elijah. He hadn't done anything flashy. No speeches, no big moves. But kids were noticing him. Some had seen that moment on the court. How Elijah stood there, calm, unmoved, and stared Tyler down. It wasn't the look of someone scared. It was the kind of look that made Tyler feel smaller than he liked. And that made Tyler restless. Second period was gym. They were doing partner drills. Push-ups, sit-ups, sprints. When Coach Ziegler told everyone to pair up, most kids ran to their friends. Elijah headed for the bleachers, waiting for whoever was left. Tyler saw his chance. He stepped into Elijah's path, arms wide, mocking. "Partner up with me, new guy," he said, loud and grinning. Elijah met his eyes. "I'm good." "Oh no, you and me?" "We're gonna be best buddies," Tyler said, slapping Elijah's shoulder, a little too hard. Coach glanced over, but didn't say a word. The coach probably thought it was just boys being boys. The drills started: push-ups, sit-ups, sprints. Tyler turned each exercise into a show, adding small slaps or shoves here and there. Elijah didn't react, not once, but Tyler kept watching him, waiting for any sign of weakness. Then came the relay race. Tyler stood behind Elijah, ready to tag his hand, as Elijah ran back from the cone. "Move it, turtle," he yelled. Elijah didn't even glance at him. He ran, tapped the cone, came back, and gave Tyler a clean high five. Tyler slapped his hand back, way too hard, then tripped on purpose and shouted, "Oops! Slippery hands! Bet he can't even hold a pencil straight." This time, no one laughed. After gym, Elijah stayed back to tie his shoes. Tyler stuck around too. "Hey," Tyler said. Elijah looked up. "You act like you're better than everyone else." Elijah blinked. "Number, I just don't speak unless I've got something worth saying." Tyler stepped in closer. Too close. "You calling me dumb?" Elijah didn't budge. "I'm saying you talk too much." That one hit. You could see it in Tyler's face. He backed up, but his eyes burned. By later that day, word had already started spreading. Not anything clear, just whispers. A kid who stood up to Tyler without raising his voice. A kid who didn't laugh, didn't flinch, and didn't try to fit in. The thing about middle school? Kids sense power shifts like animals in a pack. And Tyler? He felt it slipping. He couldn't let that happen. That afternoon, just before lunch, Elijah walked into the cafeteria and went to his usual table. Half the bench was already taken. 3 sixth graders sat there, heads down, eating pizza. Elijah didn't say anything. He just sat at the end and unwrapped his sandwich. That's when Tyler made his move. He came over with 2 of his guys, Camden and Diego. They were more tag-alongs than anything else. Tyler smacked the edge of the table with his tray, loud. The 6th graders looked up, startled, then scooted away. Tyler turned to Elijah. "You know," he said, smiling loud, "I've been thinking about you." Elijah kept chewing, didn't say a word. "You're not better than anyone here. Being quiet doesn't make you smarter, or cooler, or tougher." Elijah set his sandwich down. "I never said I was." Tyler leaned in closer now, voice lower. "But you think it." There was a pause. One of those moments where everything seems to freeze. Then Elijah said, "You talk like you're trying to convince yourself." Tyler blinked. That one stung. He straightened up. The grin was gone now. His fingers tightened around the tray. Kids nearby started to turn their heads, elbowing their friends. But Tyler wasn't looking to trade words anymore. He wanted to be in charge again, and he was about to go too far. It was Thursday, lunchtime. The cafeteria buzzed with the usual chaos. Trays clanking, sneakers squeaking, voices echoing off the walls. Elijah stood near the milk cooler, waiting his turn in line. His tray was still empty, but his head was full. Thinking about a math test, his mom's job interview, and hoping the chicken nuggets weren't frozen inside. Behind him, the usual noise dipped, just a little ripple in the background, small enough to miss if you weren't paying attention. "Yo," Tyler's voice cut through it. Elijah didn't turn. He knew who it was. He grabbed a chocolate milk from the cooler and stepped forward. "Hey," Tyler said again, louder. "You got wax in your ears?" Elijah turned his head slightly. "No." "Then why you ignoring me?" The kid in front of Elijah moved up. Elijah followed, still calm, still silent. Tyler stepped in behind him, too close. Elijah could feel his breath on his neck. "You think you're better than me?" Tyler said, this time with no smile, no fake joking. Elijah didn't respond. "You've got some nerve," Tyler said, "walking in here all quiet, like you're too good for the rest of us." Elijah turned to face him. His expression didn't change. "You're doing a lot right now," he said. That was it. That was the moment. Tyler's face changed. He stepped forward. There was barely a foot between them now. His hand twitched, and for a second it looked like he might push Elijah. But instead, he spat. Right in Elijah's face. The entire cafeteria seemed to freeze. A tray clattered somewhere in the distance. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. You could have heard a pin drop. Elijah didn't move. Spit slid down his cheek, hot and gross. His fingers curled tighter around the edge of his tray. Not from anger, but to hold himself back. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a napkin, and wiped his face slowly, carefully. Then he looked at Tyler, right in the eyes. That look, calm, steady, in control, changed the air around them. Tyler took a half step back. Barely. Most people wouldn't even notice. But Elijah did. Across the room, a teacher was talking to another staff member. They hadn't seen anything, but the students had. A dozen phones were recording, held just low enough to stay hidden. Tyler's tough guy act started to crack. He muttered, "Yeah, thought so," and turned to walk away. But Elijah spoke. His voice was even and quiet. "Don't touch me again." Tyler stopped and turned back, his face red. "Or what? You gonna do something?" Elijah's voice didn't rise. "You don't want to find out." Camden, standing nearby, whispered, "Yo, chill." Tyler snapped. "He just threatened me." Elijah shook his head. "I didn't threaten you. I warned you." There it was again. That voice. Controlled. Calm. But behind it something deeper, like a storm waiting behind a locked door. Tyler didn't get it. Not yet. But he was about to. The kids watching? They got it. They didn't look at Elijah the same after that. There hadn't been yelling. No punches. Just calm. Solid. And that kind of calm shook Tyler more than anything, even if he didn't understand why. But Tyler had crossed a line. And next time, Elijah wasn't just going to wipe his face and walk away. Friday came fast. Elijah walked into school like nothing had happened. Same hoodie, same quiet walk, same spot in line at lunch. But nothing was the same. By now, everyone had heard. Spit in the face. No reaction. One sentence. Tyler backed off. The 7th grade buzzed with whispers. Even some 8th graders were talking about it. Some kids gave Elijah space when he passed. Others stared longer than usual, whispering behind their hands. He didn't care. He wasn't here for attention. He just wanted to eat lunch and get through the day. But Tyler? Tyler was unraveling. He'd spent all of Thursday night reliving it. The way Elijah had looked at him, calm and unbothered, like he wasn't even worth a response. It made Tyler's skin itch. No one had ever made him feel that small before. In Tyler's world, you didn't let things go. You didn't earn respect. You took it. So he came to school Friday with something to prove. At lunch, he didn't wait. He went straight for Elijah, who was sitting alone at the edge of a table, eating a turkey sandwich and apple slices. "Hey." Elijah didn't look up. "Don't." That one word, steady. Final. Tyler's voice jumped. "What's your problem, man? Think you're tough now? Just 'cause you embarrassed me yesterday?" Elijah looked up. Same quiet calm. "You embarrassed yourself." That was it. Tyler shoved him. Hard. The table rocked. Apple slices rolled to the floor. A milk carton tipped and leaked over the edge. Some kids stood. Others froze. Phones came out again. Elijah stumbled back, caught himself, and then didn't move. He stood still. Not scared. Not mad. Just still. Then he stepped forward. One step. Then another. Tyler laughed, nervous now, trying to keep the act going. "What, you gonna hit me?" Elijah didn't answer. Tyler shoved again, harder. But this time, Elijah moved. Quick, smooth, controlled. He caught Tyler's wrist mid-shove, sidestepped, and used his momentum against him. A simple shift of balance. Tyler lost his footing, fell hard, hit the floor with a smack. His tray clattered away. The room gasped. Elijah didn't move in, didn't swing. He just stood there. A kid whispered, "Yo, did you see that?" Camden stared, mouth open. That wasn't normal. Tyler sat up, red-faced, shirt soaked with milk, eyes darting like a cornered animal. Elijah said nothing. He didn't have to. And that silence? That calm? It hit harder than any punch. Coach Reyes, the assistant PE teacher, rushed across the cafeteria. "What's going on here?" he barked. No one answered. Then Camden stepped forward. "Tyler started it." Reyes looked at Elijah. "You all right?" Elijah nodded. He wasn't breathing hard. His fists weren't clenched. Face steady. Reyes turned to Tyler, still on the ground. "Get up. We need to talk." Elijah picked up his tray, gathered the fallen apple slices, tossed them in the trash, and walked out. Never once looking back. What Elijah didn't know yet was how much this would change everything. Tyler didn't show up for fifth period. Word spread, he was in the principal's office with Coach Reyes and his mom on speaker. Some said he cried. Others said he yelled. Either way, he didn't come back for the rest of the day. Elijah went to class like always, took notes, answered questions, didn't bring it up. No one around him did either. But the looks, those wide, quiet stares, they said enough. By the end of the day, the video was out. Someone had caught the whole thing on camera. Not just the shove, the stance, the way Elijah moved, the technique. It spread fast. Group chats blew up. Phones buzzed nonstop. "Yo, this kid's a ninja. He didn't even throw a punch. Dude's like Jackie Chan but chill." That night, Elijah sat at the dinner table with his mom. She stirred a pot on the stove. He picked at his food. "Quiet day?" she asked. Elijah shrugged. "Same as usual." But she had already seen the video. One of the parents from work had sent it. "Is this your son?" "Elijah," she said softly. "You didn't hurt him, right?" He looked up. "No, ma'am." She nodded, breathed deep, and sat across from him. "You know the rule," she said. "You never start trouble." "I didn't." "But if it finds you," she looked him in the eye, "you finish it clean." "I did." She studied his face a second longer. Then she smiled. "You always do." The next morning at school, Tyler was back. But he wasn't the same. His walk was slower. His head stayed down. And the usual crowd around him? Thinner than before. The kids who used to follow him like shadows now gave him space. Camden sat at another table. Even Diego avoided eye contact. Middle school loyalty moves quick. Power flips even quicker. Elijah didn't gloat, didn't smirk, didn't even look Tyler's way. But people were noticing. Near the lockers, a girl from science, Grace Whitlow, stopped him. "Hey," she said. "Hey, you're, like, really calm." He raised an eyebrow. "That good?" "It's rare." She smiled and walked off. Later that day, during free period, Tyler came into the gym. Elijah was shooting hoops by himself. At first, Elijah thought it might be round 2, but Tyler just stood there. "I didn't know," he said. "Didn't know what?" "That you trained, or whatever." Elijah bounced the ball once. Would it have changed anything? Tyler didn't reply. After a beat, Elijah passed him the ball. "You want to talk? Or shoot?" Tyler looked at it, then gave a small nod and started shooting. For 5 minutes, they said nothing. Just two kids sharing space, passing a ball, letting silence be enough. When the bell rang, Tyler passed it back. "I shouldn't have done that," he said. Elijah caught it, held it. "You were trying to feel big," he said. "I get it." Tyler blinked. "Yeah, I guess. You don't have to prove anything, man. Just stop shrinking others to feel taller." Tyler paused, then left. No reply, not an apology, but it was something. The biggest shift, it wasn't in Tyler. It was in how people started hearing Elijah without him needing to say much at all. By Monday, everyone at Lincoln Ridge Middle knew his name. Not because he talked tough, not because he threw hands, but because he stood there calm, collected, and turned humiliation into quiet power. Some kids were curious. Some respected him. Even teachers took notice. They called on him more, not to test, to engage. Some even asked how things were going at home. He wasn't invisible anymore, and not in the way he'd feared. He didn't chase popularity, didn't want a spotlight. But when he walked the halls, people moved, not out of fear, but out of recognition. Tyler kept to himself after that. He still talked, still hung with Camden and Diego. But the sharpness in his voice was gone. When he and Elijah crossed paths, they didn't avoid each other. They didn't exchange words, just a quiet understanding. And space. Thursday. After class, Mr. Langdon pulled Elijah aside. "I heard about what happened in the cafeteria." Elijah said nothing. "I also heard how you handled it." Elijah shifted his backpack. "Wasn't looking for a fight." "I know, that's what made it matter." Langdon held his gaze. "Some people shout to be heard. Others only need a whisper." Elijah smiled, just barely, and walked on. That evening, he sat on the porch steps while his mom watered the potted plants. "You good?" she asked. He nodded. "Yeah. You seem lighter." "I think people are finally seeing me. Really seeing." She smiled. "That's a good thing." "Yeah, I think it is." A week later, something small, but big, happened. A 6th grader named Riley was getting messed with outside the library. A couple of older boys had his backpack, tossing it back and forth, laughing. Riley looked ready to cry. Elijah saw it from across the quad. He didn't sprint, didn't yell. He walked. And when the older kids saw him, they stopped. One caught the bag, handed it back without a word, and left. Elijah nodded at Riley. "You good?" Riley hugged the bag. "Yeah, thanks." "Next time," Elijah said, "don't wait on someone else. Speak up." "I was scared." "It's okay to be scared. Just don't stay quiet because of it." Riley looked up. "You're not scared?" Elijah thought for a moment. "I'm trained to stay calm. That helps." Riley smiled. "Are you like a black belt or something?" Elijah grinned. "2nd degree." "No way." Elijah walked off without looking back. He didn't need the moment to last. He just needed Riley to remember it. Because standing your ground doesn't always mean throwing a punch. It means knowing who you are even when the world tries to tell you different. Elijah didn't stand tall for applause. He didn't fight for a name. He stood tall for himself. And in doing that, he gave others permission to do the same. Because real strength, it's not loud, it's steady, it's patient. And when it's tested, it doesn't flinch. If this story meant something to you, share it with someone who needs it. Elijah's story matters because it reminds us, character, not volume, defines who we are.